Hello everyone and welcome back to Mediak, and I just got back from another fantastic vacation paid for by my girlfriend's family. They are a very outdoorsy family and much different from a lot of the families I have met, in which they don't go on vacation to relax and sit down in some comfy environment or something like that. No, they go on hikes. And that was an interesting thing to wrap my head around at first, but the second I was invited on the first vacation and I went on my first hike, I fell in love with it immediately. And this year is no different. It honestly, I feel like they just keep getting better every single year. To jump right into it, let's introduce you to the main cast of characters. I'm not going to show you them in the order of age. I'm going to show you them in the order of power, and I'm not going to explain that any further. So up first, this is Dan. He is very nice. He cares about his lawn a lot. This is Diane. She is really nice, and she likes to feed people. This is Corinne, and like I said previously, I'm not ranking him by age. I am ranking him by power. She is actually the middle child in G's family, and this is her boyfriend, Michael. He is really nice. This is Lee. She is the oldest sister. She is really nice. Very great group of people we have going on here. This is Justine. This is actually G's twin, but I think G is actually a little bit older than her. She is really nice. And this is my girlfriend, G. And then that's me. So as you guys can tell, we went kayaking the very first day. So we landed at like 12, maybe... We landed earlier on the earlier side of things, and we went to our Airbnb, I think, around 1, and then we had kayaking at 3, I think. That was the order of things. And we went out, and this picture is from our way back on the kayak. So, like, we went out to the beach, and we kayaked all the way down a river, then we kayaked back, and this picture was taken on the way back. But when we got down there to the very end where our tour guide, Ian, he is the best. I'll actually link his kayak business in the description below. And then the water actually that we went kayaking in was freaking freezing. We all took turns jumping into it. All but one of us. You guys can guess which one did not jump into the water. But this picture was taken after me, Dan, and Michael did. So, you know, at least the three of us 100% jumped into the water. All right, and that was the first day. Like I said, we couldn't do a whole entire lot. The kayaking took up most of the afternoon, and obviously traveling to Vegas took up most of that time. Oh, I didn't even explain it yet. Oh, I'm sorry. This should go at the beginning of it, but because I'm me and we just kind of jumped into it, I'm gonna leave it the way it is. So we went out to the Las Vegas area, and our intention was going hiking in the Red Rock area at first, and then going out to Utah to go hiking in Bryce Canyon and Zion National Park. And then we are going to come back to Vegas just to actually experience Vegas for the last bit of it. So the first like 4 days we were doing like outdoorsy stuff in the Red Rock area. And then we went up to Utah and hiked around in Zion and Bryce. And we came back for the last 2 or 3 days into Vegas so we could actually like experience Vegas a little bit and go to the Hoover Dam. Okay, now that I actually explained a bit of our vacation and what we actually did during it, let's go on to the second day. That was the full first day experience. You know, I'm actually really proud of the new setup. I have a really big TV over there that's going to show all the pictures to me so I can describe them better. So this is the first hike that we went on. This was actually towards the end of it. I'm not putting these pictures in order. I'm just showing them in order of how I wanted to talk about them. In the bottom left, you can see Diane down there. She struggled a bit here. This was not a good moment in the hike for her vertigo. She is not the best at drop-offs, and there definitely was a little bit of one right there, right into the water. And the water didn't look very nice, so she definitely didn't want to be going down there. So on this day, we went on 2 different hikes, and at the end of the first hike, we got a outlook of Vegas. So that city out there in the far, far distance, you can see, that's actually Vegas. So it was just a really nice look at that. It was a great way to start off the hiking in this trip. And along the way, we saw some hummingbirds. So here's some pictures that I ended up taking of them. I didn't actually think I would be able to catch the wings without any motion blur on them, but luckily I managed to do that. It was pretty cool. I'm not going to talk about all of these pictures. I'm just going to kind of let them play as I talk over the trip. It was a really nice view. All of these are nice views. This entire Red Rock was really interesting. The one of the canyon was cool. It reminded me of that one scene from Dune. That's not... I'm going to talk about Dune a lot. Probably a little bit later, but this is everything that I got right now. Again, these are mainly just like really beautiful landscapes and nice pictures that I took. For the first hike, like I said, we saw Vegas. We saw Vegas at the end of it. Coming back, there was another pathway up to a different hike, and it was at the top of this really tall mountain. And me, Dan, Diane, and G didn't actually end up going all the way up to the top of the mountain, but everyone else on our trip did, and they said it was an incredible view. It was a big 360. That's the end of day 2. Actually, at the end of day 2, I got really sick, and I threw up. We played Scrabble, and then we were going to have dinner. And while we were at dinner, I took a single bite out of my burger, and I was like, that's not going to go down. So I just fucking sprinted upstairs and just... You don't need the details. You don't need the details in that. The following morning, I didn't go on the hike, but I was told it wasn't the most intense hike ever, so I didn't really think I missed out on all that much. I still tried to take some pictures because, like, I didn't want to go a day without flexing some sort of photography of me. I just graduated. I'm trying to be cool here. So these are some pictures I went through. You could let me know if they're good or not. I think they're whatever, but yeah. On day 3, we also went to Old Vegas, and that was an experience. That was like a dirtier, grosser version of New York City, which I know that's saying a lot. So on day 4, we went on to this other hike. I think it was called the Icebox hike. I'm not going to be able to say all of the names of all the hikes that we went on because I don't remember the names of all of them. It's complicated. But one of these pictures I'm going to be showing right now, there was a climber that was climbing up the mountain far in the distance whenever we were going through this hike, and it was really cool. We saw a couple of them, actually. It was really interesting. But yeah, at the end of Icebox, there was supposed to be like this waterfall, and it kind of gets its name from like whenever it's like raining and in the wintertime, it gets really cold, and the sun doesn't really go down in that canyon and stuff like that. There wasn't really that much water in the area. Here's a picture from the bottom of it where the water usually would be. There's like a puddle there, but it doesn't really count. You can actually see in the picture the grooves where like the stream of water would be coming and where it would be a waterfall. And I actually managed to climb all the way up to the top area where there was a little bit more of a pool, but it was a pretty steep drop off, so not everyone was able to climb up there. I just was lucky because I have long legs and long arms, so I was able to climb up there and take a picture by the larger pool. And it got a little bit of a better view of the drop-off waterfall. And then also Diane said that this rock, I'll put an arrow to it, looked like a monkey. And then for the rest of the trip, we made jokes about King Kong coming and getting us from that. It was like, it's just a dumb joke that we came up with related to Skull Island or something like that. It was funny. It was a good time. A great group of people. I love them. They're so great. It's so funny. So on day 5, our goal here was to do one of the most dangerous hikes in all of the United States. We woke up really early, so we got this like really crazy shot of the sunlight being cut by the mountain. It was a 2-mile hike to the Angel's Landing, and it was just like one of the craziest experiences of all time. We found out from a later hike that we weren't up all that high, but the crazy part about Angel's Landing is that there's basically no railing at all. Like, I made sure to put in this video as many pictures of people as possible just to show how close to the edge we were at all times. At any moment, we could have slipped and fallen and dying. I wasn't like scared. I just had like... Yeah, but this was awesome. Justine got a little chipmunk friend, and we saw a squirrel that was up there. And it just, like, looking back on these pictures is mind-blowing because there's nothing to our left and right sometimes. We did this. That is so cool. It's one of the most amazing experiences of my entire life. I would do it again. And this is a turkey that we saw at the visitor center. I'm going to name him Tom. Okay, day 6 is by far my favorite day of the entire trip. It's probably not my favorite hike of the trip. I think my favorite hike was Angel's Landing just because of how much adrenaline it gave me. But the pictures I got from this hike that we did in the morning, are probably the best pictures I took in the entire trip. I loved this hike. There were so many different like environments we traveled through. It was woodsy in some areas and rocky in some areas, and then there was like a deserty area, and then it was like a waterfall. It was beautiful. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my entire life because you just would keep walking and you'd go into another environment and then another environment and then another environment. And it was shocking because while we were preparing for hikes, I think we talked about this one being relatively lame to a degree. Not like lame because none of these hikes are lame at all. It's still like an incredible life experience, but I don't think this hike was the initial plan or within the initial plan whenever we went out to Zion, because this wasn't by Zion. We did this hike because we had a UTVing experience later on in the day, which I'm going to get to. Don't worry about that. That was also an incredible experience. But I had no expectations at all for this hike, while the other hikes I thought were going to be fun going into them, and I still enjoyed them. But this one, because I didn't have any expectations for it, it made it so much better. And all these pictures, I think, turned out phenomenal, and I really enjoyed all of them. Like, look at this little bug dude. He's just grooving. The UTVing was, and I know this is going to sound like an exaggeration. I promise I'm not exaggerating or being stupid. The UTVing was one of the greatest moments of my entire life. Holy crap. It was such... I'm a nerd. I'm a big nerd. I like sci-fi. I like good movies. You're going to deny this, but everyone likes a little politics as long as they're done good in movies, and Dune does them phenomenally. I fucking love the book Dune, the movie Dune, and the movie Dune Part 2. Phenomenal films. Amazing movies, amazing video game. Amazing book. UTVing in the desert felt like I was on the set of Dune. I don't know how to explain this feeling other than just being like, my jaw was on the floor. I felt so, this was life-changing. Like, I looked out here and I had such a grander appreciation for the desert. Like, I like the desert because the first vacation I went on with this family was in the desert. We went out to Utah, just went out to Moab and Arches and stuff like that. We hiked it in the desert already, so I enjoyed that. But going out here and UTVing completely changed my perspective of deserty environments. I fell in love. We got to drive through the different dunes, and I don't have any video of me driving because, you know, that's illegal. But I got video of Dan driving, and he was way more fun than I was. So it's just such an incredible experience. I could not recommend going out into the desert and doing this enough. So this was the most difficult hike of the entire trip. It wasn't, I need to word this a little bit better. Yeah, it was the most difficult one. So there's a mountain called Observation Point that actually overlooks Angel's Landing, which was the very scary hike that we went on earlier, which is how we found out that Angel's Landing actually wasn't all that high, even though it felt like it was high because we were, you know, at the edge. We went to Observation Point from this hike, and we actually took the hard path. There were two paths. There was an easy path and a hard path. And the hard path has you going from the top of a mountain all the way down to the bottom, and then doing switchbacks all the way up to the top, and then walking like a good distance to where Angel's Landing is. That's what we did. And it was the hardest hike we did on this trip. It wasn't the hardest hike I've ever done. That probably stands at this 10-mile hike that we did in Utah 2 vacations ago. But this one, it was just like a series of switchbacks that really, it burned your legs, man. It really did. And along the way, we saw some really pretty environments. Like this one of the trees, Justine, I think it was Justine, she said that the trees that were sprouting over the mountain looked like the Mario mushrooms from the Super Mario games. I got this really gray one of the bird, and then his friend over there that was like challenging me. He was like, dude, jump. I dare you. I'm coming for you if you do. I just want you to know that. And then here, this is a picture of one of the switchbacks. It's an example if you don't know what a switchback is. It's basically the back and forth motion, but like moving up a hill. It's essentially doing like stairs at Planet Fitness, but with a better view. When we were at the top, there was a bunch of annoying people, like kids getting really close to the edge in a very dangerous way. But once you got past that, we saw some really amazing stuff. Like these views were incredible. And we met a little chippy, and he was my friend and probably got my favorite picture on the entire trip, which is the one of him sniffing the M&M. Oh, I love that. Fantastic stuff. He posed better than most people. And on the final vacation of the trip, we went out to Bryce Canyon to go look at a bunch of hoodoos. If you don't know what a hoodoo is, it's those like pillars that form from like ice getting into different crevices and like expanding and pushing things. I don't know exactly why they form in specific pillar-like shapes. I read the things, but it's been too long since I've read them and I didn't memorize them. They're these really cool and weird-looking pillars that allow for a bunch of weird-looking pictures. And this one actually was of Queen Victoria At least that's what they say it is. They say it looks like a statue of Queen Victoria, and I could kind of see it, but a lot of our group was like a little suspicious about that, which is pretty fair. It's just a fucking rock. This vacation was incredible, and even though this hike wasn't one of my favorite hikes of the trip, it just was a banger to go out on. Amazing time. I could not recommend enough going to Zion and Bryce, specifically Zion. Zion was amazing. It's probably my favorite park that we've been in. Going to the Smoky Mountains last year was really crazy, but Zion was awesome. Really liked that. So that was the end of the hikes. So I guess I just have a little bit more to talk about, which was the last 2 days of the trip. Friday was our driving day, so we had to drive from our one Airbnb in Zion to our Airbnb next to Las Vegas. And when we got there, we were all like pretty tired, but we still decided to go out. So at round 7, we went out to New Vegas, and it was an interesting time. Like it's not my kind of style. Like I can understand it if you're more of a drinker and a gambler, that you would go there and have fun. Like I completely get that. I thought the buildings were a little bit disappointing. I thought the dome was pretty cool, and I thought that the pyramid was really cool, but everything else kind of felt very fake and plastic moldy. And I'm not much of a gambler. I bet $15. I lost $15, and that was my fun with Vegas. The following day, we slept in because we were out really late. I think I ended up going to bed around 2, which would be around 5 my time here. So I was like really passed out because I'm an old man. I go to bed at 11:30. The following day, I woke up at like 8-ish or something like that, and we chilled around for a little bit of the day. But then around 12, we went out because we wanted to go visit the Hoover Dam, and we walked along the top of it, and then we took a tour through it, and that was really nifty. Seeing the different intake towers and seeing the view from both sides of the Hoover Dam was just incredible. And all the information about it was really wild. And looking over the side was a lot more like scary than I thought it was going to be. I was like, holy crap, dude, I feel like I can fall down this thing. Like I feel way less confident being on this than I feel being on the edge of a mountain. It was a weird feeling because I usually stand right on the edge of mountains. Seeing the turbine room was really cool, and then going through just like the rest of the thing was really enjoyable, and learning about the Hoover Dam was really cool. And there was this kid that just like kept coughing, man, and we were in such a tight enclosure. It was just like, dude, stop. There's this really high bridge, and again, I'm not scared of heights usually, but being on this bridge did not feel safe at all. Look, you can see in this picture, I'm not near the edge at all, because like every time a truck came by, it shook the entire thing, and I just was like, this is gonna fall, this is gonna fall, this is gonna fall, and it's man's fault. This is man. We shouldn't be able to cover this big of a distance in a car. We shouldn't have to do that. We are tempting God. We shouldn't build a bridge this big. Yeah, and then the next day we flew home. It was a fantastic trip. I had so much fun, and it basically changed my entire life and outlook on life. Oh, and I read a book during it called What If Loki Was Worthy, and I plan on making a video about that. And you probably could guess that because there's a bunch of stuff in the background here that is new, and a lot of it is hinting towards videos I'm going to be making in the future. So if you want to be a sleuth and try to figure out what is what, you can look over there and try to figure it out. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciated this. I love these vacations, and I really love making these videos, and I'm really happy that you voted for this to be the video of the week instead of any of the other stuff. It was really shocking to me. I didn't think you guys would want to see me chatting about my vacation, and I'm happy I ended up doing it because I put a lot of effort into the setup and everything that's going on here, and I want to make more of these, so I hope you guys enjoyed. All right, see you later.